I'm going to talk today about something that might bother you a little bit, make you a little uncomfortable. And I say it in love, but with clarity. And listen, I can say it because I've been there. This is what I've been breaking out of in my 40s, and that I've come to learn. The Lord's revealed this to me. And I want to say this all again with love and with clarity. If you are feeling broke, if you live paycheck to paycheck, if you even make good money, but still feel the stress of finances, then it's not a money problem. It is a thinking problem because the absence of cash is not what destroys people. It's the presence of a defective belief system. If money was the answer to your problems, if more money was the answer to build wealth, then those lottery winners would never go broke, but they do. If income was the solution, those high paid professionals out there would never live stress strapped and drowning in debt. I actually, by marriage, had a cousin that played for the NFL, and he built wealth. And even though didn't make quite as much money as some of the superstars on the team, those superstars were broke. What did it come down to? It wasn't about how much money each person made. It was about what they did with that money, right? We see it every single day that people make more, and maybe this is you, and still stay stuck. So, what's the real issue? It's the way we think about it, it's the mindset, it's the heart position. In the Bible, Hosea 4:6 says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." Notice what God did not say. He didn't say it's because they didn't pray enough or lack of fasting or even lack of faith. I've been that person, faith it till I make it. But he said lack of knowledge. So let's be clear that knowledge is not just information. Knowledge is understanding how something works. And then, of course, you have to apply it. So you can love Jesus with all your heart and still be financially ignorant. And I'm not saying this to shame you. I'm saying it because it's fixable. I'm saying it because I was financially ignorant and I learned how to do better. Ignorance is expensive. I heard a mentor say something that hit me so hard. He said, "Wendy, what you don't know is costing you way too much money." Oh, that hit, right? That's the truth. Ignorance is expensive. It costs you in bad decisions. It costs you in wasted years. It costs you in unnecessary debt, in missed opportunities, panic and emergencies. And here's the kicker. Two people can live in the same economy, the same city, the same country, and one prospers while the other struggles. And the difference isn't opportunity. The difference is mentality. Because what you believe becomes your behavior, and your behavior becomes your result. One of the most powerful things I did when I started as an entrepreneur is I took a course that was all these teachings of Jim Rohn, and he talked about your philosophy. And he's like, the government isn't in control of your outcome. You're where you were born, right? If you're watching this, most likely you were born in North America, and we are in the land of opportunity. We have so much opportunity. And so the results that we have don't come from lack of opportunity. It's lack of applied knowledge. Okay? And so here's where I want to talk to the Christians, because here's where religion has confused a lot of people, or I say religion, right? Salvation does not automatically include financial intelligence. You can be saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Spirit, love God so deeply, and still be broke. Why? Because heaven saves your spirit, but God expects you to renew your mind. That is our responsibility. Romans 12:2 says, "Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Transformation doesn't come just from prayer alone. It comes from mental reprogramming. And until your thinking changes, your life won't change. Yes, your heart can be saved and you can love people differently. But as far as the economy that we live in, this kingdom on earth, we have to change our thinking. And, there's a lie out there that, as Christians, we're supposed to be poor, right? We read poor in spirit and we think, oh, we're supposed to be poor. Oh, Jesus didn't have a mansion. He came as a humble servant. Listen, God never designed his children to live like financial beggars, okay? Heaven is not broke. Streets of gold do not belong to a poor kingdom. Psalm 24:1 says, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof." God owns everything. So if your father owns everything, poverty cannot be in your inheritance, right? And we know that when we get to heaven, we have the streets of gold. But he says on earth as it is in heaven, right? Your father owns everything. And I want you to not twist what I'm saying. This isn't prosperity gospel. Money is not the goal. Purpose and fulfilling the plan God has for your life is the goal. But money is often the result of purpose that's properly executed. God does not fund laziness. If you've ever read the book of Proverbs, you know that God doesn't fund laziness. He doesn't reward ignorance. He doesn't bless confusion. He funds obedience to principle. Deuteronomy 8:18 says, "It is the Lord who gives you power to get wealth." Read that again or listen to that again, right? It is the Lord the Lord your God who gives you power to get wealth. He gives you power. There's been times in my life where I even read in Exodus, in the wilderness, which we're going to talk about that in a minute, but he rained manna from heaven. But you're not in the wilderness right now. You're in the land of opportunity. So power is ability, power is skill, power is knowledge, power is capacity. Wealth is the outcome of applying that power correctly. And like I said, I used to think, God would just rain money from heaven. He did that in Exodus. It was called manna. They woke up every single day, 6 days a week, and were able to gather their food from heaven that was literally on the ground, right? But when they got to the promised land, God didn't do that anymore. In the promised land, they had to farm, right? The wilderness required the miracles, but the promised land required management. And that's why God told Joshua to meditate on this law day and night, observe to do it. And then you will make your way prosperous. God didn't say, "I'm going to do it for you." He said, "You will make your way prosperous." So responsibility always precedes prosperity. That'll preach, right? But here's what you're going to be hearing from me. I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is where I'm showing up. This is where God's called me to be, to spread this message. And here's the foundation of this whole series is that you cannot live beyond your level of understanding. If your understanding is shallow, your life will be shallow. And if your understanding is narrow, your options will be narrow. But if your understanding expands, your capacity increases. And God is always willing to increase capacity when you're ready. I used to say, God did not give me the success that I wanted in the time that I wanted it because he knew I couldn't handle it. I wasn't the person I needed to be. I've had to walk through this journey and listen, I have been rich in money and I have been broke in money multiple times. And every time the Lord pushed me closer to my purpose, which is having walked through all those trials so I could come to you as someone who's been there. And I can tell you what God can do when we renew our mind. If you've been frustrated, if you've been praying, if you've been on your knees, on your face before God, and wondering why things aren't changing, this might be the missing link is God's calling you into wisdom. Not hype, not chasing money, not hustle, not emotional motivation, but wisdom. When your thinking changes, then you can change your spending habits. When your thinking changes, your decisions change. When your thinking changes, your future changes. Poverty cannot survive in the presence of correct knowledge, applied knowledge. So here's my question that I want to ask you. What do you currently believe about money? I had to dig into this myself. What do I believe about money? Not what, the church says, or not what you say in church or what you post online, but what do you actually believe when fear hits? I used to think that the love of money was the people that had a lot of it and they thought, oh, this is life, you know? But the love of money is actually thinking that money is what solves your problems. And it's not, right? It is a tool. And when you start to get your belief around the fact that you make money when you walk in your purpose, and when you gain wisdom to understand what to do with that money, you've got to seek people. And that's my mission, is to be a source of wisdom for you to know what to do with money to actually create wealth, right? Poverty is not just about income. It's about understanding. And the good news is that you are not cursed. You're just under-trained, and training is available. If you want help getting clarity on where you are and what your next steps are, I offer you a free wealth map. It's a simple step-by-step plan that helps you understand how money works and what to do next based on your current situation. These are personalized plans. I only have so many appointments a week. I'm growing my team, so we have more people to help, but I want you to grab the link in the description below and get your wealth map. This is a free call. This is me offering 2 hours of my time. We do it in 2 different sessions, an hour here and an hour there, to put together, see where you are today, what your struggles are, put together a plan so you have the wisdom to get to that next place. If this hits home, comment the word mindset. Tell me what part you needed to hear. We are building kingdom wealth with kingdom wisdom, and we are doing it God's way.